Hi, this is Martin for Revelation Software, and welcome to yet another video lesson in my series looking at getting started with OpenInsight. Today we're going to be looking at OpenInsight's Database Manager, and the lesson is going to be largely hands-off. So I suggest that you go and grab a cup of tea or a mug of coffee, sit down and enjoy the lesson. As usual, we'll be working within our clinic application, so go ahead and run up OpenInsight. And just run up the Database Manager using the button. When first opened, the Database Manager provides us with a graphical outline of the structure of the current database that we're working in this instance the clinic application. However, the Database Manager does more than just help us to maintain our underlying database. This tool enables us to create and maintain users, indexes and connections to third-party database. There is a section to manage default settings for our application environment and also transaction control and much more. We'll take a look through each of the controls during this lesson by running through each of the menu items. However, whilst we're here, let's take a look at the main Database Manager screen, which provides us with a graphical outline of our application. Now obviously we've got our normal menu bar at the top here, and then we have attached tables and columns, and these are the tables that are attached in our copy of OpenInsight at the moment, and you can double click to expand these out. So we've got OpenInsight tables, our clinic data, and then underneath that we've got our patient entry table that's attached within our application. On the right hand side we've got a list of our columns that are within that attached table, and if I double click on comments for instance, then that will open up the attributes window for that particular column. And this should be a familiar window. It's the same attributes window that we opened up and worked with within the table builder. Now in here I can go in and add a column description, for instance. So these are comments for the patient. Yeah. And if I just OK that and then I go back in there, then you'll see that that's saved. Personally, I prefer to modify these within the table builder. If I'm doing anything with tables, I tend to do it in the table builder, so it's a single place where I tend to work. But if you just want to do something simple, then I guess you can do it in here. But I tend to just use this for viewing all of the tables within my application and then viewing the column detail rather than changing things. Right, so the first of the menu options is File, and off there I can go and add a new table. Now that simply runs up the OpenInsight table builder and prompts us to create a new table, so allocations, etc. And this is exactly the same tool that we looked at in an earlier lesson, so I'm not going to worry about that for now. The second option is Add Table. Now from time to time you might want to create a data table and then make that available to more than one database. OpenInsight enables linear hash data tables to be attached to more than one database, and this is achieved through the Add Table option. For example, you might have a main towns data table that lists all of the towns in your country, and rather than having to create and populate that table for every application that you create and that needs towns, you could just add or alias those tables. So within the tool we can obviously access our tables from a directory. So in this instance it's C RevSoft, and if I was to click the browse button, that will take me out to browse for a folder. Alternatively, if I click the volume option, then this changes so that I can now pick tables from a particular volume, and I've got in here my physical path to my clinic data. I've also got DataVol and a few other directories. If I just select DataVol for the moment, then you can see all of the currently unattached tables in this particular application. And if I want to, I could click maybe the customers table and I can add that. I might also want to add the state examples, for instance, and drop that into there. And then these tables from this application will be available to us within Clinic. And then once I'm done, I can just click Apply, or alternatively I can remove these items. This is all fairly standard stuff, or I could add them all, for instance, or remove them all. If I want to remove them all, then I need to obviously select them and remove them over, and that's just a shift and click. So let's cancel out of there. And the next option off the file menu is the import ASCII option. Now this is a very simple import routine to import ASCII files. I'm not going to spend any time on this right now because I have a future lesson planned that's going to be looking at the data warehouse procedure within OpenInsight. So that will be for exporting and importing data from linear hash. So I'll cover that in a little bit more detail later. The next option is attributes, and I've already got a table selected within the Database Manager. So this is basically showing me the attributes for that particular table. So the number of records that I have, the average size, frame information, and other general information about the particular table. The next option is to print a dictionary, and what I can do is to pick my table name. I've only got one in here, but this is all of the tables that are available to me from my application. As I said, I've only got one in my particular application, so we'll just click OK to that one. I can then output to a printer the screen or file. I'll do screen for the moment. I can change the format depending on the output style and whether I want to have summary, detail, and detail with a formula. So if we just do a summary for the moment, clicking the execute will actually run that report. And then we get a report about our MP patient table, so the column names, types, positions, etc. So let's just close out of there. And the next option is alias table. There may be situations when you want to change the table name of an entity in the repository, and if you rename the table for the current application, you may create problems for other non-OpenInsight applications that use the table, so you need to be a little bit careful. In these situations, you can create alias pointers in OpenInsight. The alias you specify points to a specific table residing in a specific location. In the context of your OpenInsight application, the one that we're working with now, the table is identified with the name you specify as the alias, but the actual name of the table in the system does not change. So other applications that use the table are not affected. And again, you're prompted for a directory, so I go browse and I'll come down to where I've got my application installed. And I've got my available tables, and then I could set an alias name. We're not going to bother with that, so I'll just close out of there. And the next option off the file menu is rename table. Very similar. I can just simply select a table, rename it, and I can pick from a different application if I want to as well. Just close out of there. I then got the option to remove tables, clear tables, delete tables, and the like. The next option is MFS table control. Now, the creation of use of modified filing systems, MFSs, is a large and complex topic and well beyond my skill set. So I'll leave that as a topic for you to discuss with the professional developers during your formal OpenInsight training. We'll cancel out of there and file, and pretty much the same for volume pointers as well. I'm going to leave that one for the professionals. But the last option on here is the table browser. And this is quite a useful screen. I can select my table, and again in here we'll just select patient. It's defaulted to that one because that's the one I've got in my application. We'll choose all the records and we can load that, and I can see the data that we've already entered into this particular table within OpenInsight. So I've got my hospital number, my surnames. I can see in here that I've got pretty much an empty record, so I might want to do something with that. And you can actually go into here and you can add data. So for instance, I could put in here Fred Smith,